Hey kindergarten, how you doing? Sandra and Aubrey, John Wesley, Kylie, good.
Oh yeah, I see you too,
And today, one of my favorite best books ever. Now this is a used copy, it's not our library copy, but I really like it. It's about these ants. There's two bad ants, right? Sandra, there's no bad ants in kindergarten, right? Yeah. So anyhow, this is Two Bad Ants, Chris Van Allsburg. One of my favorites. I've mentioned that before. He is not only the author, but he is also the illustrator. It's kind of a long book. Get comfortable. Yeah, if you want to lay down, go ahead. You can lay down. I don't care. News traveled fast and swiftly through the tunnels of the ant world. A scout had returned with a remarkable discovery, a beautiful, sparkling crystal. When the scout presented the crystal to the queen ant, she took a small bite. Then she quickly ate the entire thing. She deemed it the most delicious food she had ever tasted. Nothing could make her happier than to have more, much more. The ants understood. They were eager to gather more crystals because the queen was the mother of them all. Her happiness made the whole ant nest a happy place. It was late in the day when they departed. Long shadows stretched over the entrance to the ant kingdom. One by one the insects climbed out, following the scout, who made it clear there were many crystals where the first had been found, but the journey was long and dangerous. They marched into the woods that surrounded their underground home. Dusk turned to twilight, and twilight into night. The path they followed twisted and turned, every bend leading them deeper and deeper into the forest. Oh, there's a mystery here. You're going to have to find out what that crystal is. I hope you got some thinkers there. More than once, the line of ants stopped and anxiously listened for the sound of a hungry spider. But all they heard was the call of the crickets, echoing through the woods like distant thunder. Dew formed on the leaves above. Without warning, huge, cold droplets fell on the marching ants. A firefly passed overhead. For an instant, it lit up the woods with a blinding blue-green flash. At the edge of the forest stood a mountain, and the ants looked up, but they could not see the peak. It seemed to reach high into the heavens, but they did not stop. Up the side they climbed higher and higher. The wind whistled through the cracks of the mountain's face. The ants could feel the force bending their delicate antennae. Their legs grew weak as they struggled upwards. At last, they reached the edge to a narrow tunnel. Now, I need some help here. What do you think that mountain is? This looks familiar. John? Bricks? But what would the bricks be going up? Aubrey? Yeah, I think you're right. It's like a wall, like a brick house. They're climbing up the wall of the brick house. When the ants came to the end of the tunnel, they found themselves in a strange world. Smells they had known their whole lives. Smells of dirt and grass, rotting plants had vanished. Now there was no more wind. And most puzzling of all, the sky was gone. Let's see if you can figure out where that is. They crossed the shiny, smooth surfaces, following the scout up a glassy curved wall, and they reached their goal. At the top of the wall, they saw below a sea of crystals. One by one, the ants climbed down. What is this? What do you think? Sandra? Yep. It's a window. Where do you think it is? Kylie? Inside a house? What room? Does anybody know what room? Yeah, John Wesley shouted it out, but that's good. You see this right here? That's a faucet. I think it's either the bathroom or the kitchen. Oh, but look at right here. I think that might be up high because it's a paper towel. Now they're looking for the crystals. I need you guys to figure out what these magical crystals are. I hope you can figure it out. Quickly, they chose a crystal, each of them. Then they turned to start their journey home. There was something about this unnatural place that made the ants nervous. In fact, they left in such a hurry, none of them noticed that 2 small ants stayed behind. "Why go back?" the one said to the other. "This place may not feel like home, but look at these crystals." "Ah, you're right," said the other. "We could stay here and eat these tasty treasures every day forever." So the 2 ants ate crystal after crystal until they were too filled to move. Anybody know what those magical crystals are? We got a clue here. They're in this jar. And we don't see the whole word, but it ends with gur. Something gur. Gur. Okay, Aubrey, let's ask Kylie to see if she's right. And then you tell me if she's right. Sugar? She right, Aubrey? Yeah. Doesn't that look just like sugar? And those 2 ants are hogging them down. Daylight came, and the sleeping ants were unaware of changes taking place in their newfound home. A giant silver scoop hovered above them. Then it plunged into the crystals, and it shoveled up both the ants and the crystals and carried them in the air. And the ants were wide awake when the scoop turned around and dropped them from a frightening height, and they tumbled through space in a shower of crystals and fell into a brown lake. I'm going to need some work with you because we're going to need to find out what the lake is. The giant scoop stirred violently back and forth. Crushing waves fell over the ants. They paddled hard to keep their tiny heads above the water, but the scoop kept spinning the hot brown liquid. And around it went, creating a whirlpool that sucked the ants deeper and deeper, and they both held their breath and finally bobbed to the surface, gasping for air, with mouthfuls of terrible, bitter water. Okay, it's got a guess yet? Okay, go ahead. John, what do you think? That's good. Aubrey? Huh? Oh, Sandra? Good. And Kylie, what's your guess? Okay. Then the lake tilted and began to empty into a cave. The ants could hear the rushing water and felt themselves pulled towards the pitch black hole. Suddenly, the cave disappeared and the lake became calm, and the ants swam to the shore. Now, got a couple pictures here. Okay, first, what's this thing? Aubrey? Yeah, it's a nose. And where's the brown liquid going, Sandra? In his mouth. And this must be, what do you think this is, John Wesley? Yep, a cup. So, what almost happened to him, Kylie? Yeah, it almost got drank down. They hurried down the walls that held back the lake. Frightened, the insects looked for a place to hide, worried that the giant scoop might shovel them up again. And close by they found a huge round disc with holes that could neatly hide them. Okay, they're really going on an adventure here. This is going to be a hard one for you to guess, I think. But as soon as they climbed inside their hiding place, they were lifted and tilted and lowered into a dark space. When the ants climbed out of the holes, they were surrounded by a strange red glow. It seemed to them every second the temperature was getting hotter and hotter and hotter. It became so unbearably hot that they thought they would soon be cooked. But suddenly, the disc that they were standing on rocketed up, and the 2 hot ants went flying through the air. Who's going to guess where they were? Leandra? Oh, that's good. That's good, Leandra. Very good. Yeah, they were in a toaster. You were so quiet, I forgot you were even here. Good. They landed near what was seemed to be a fountain, a waterfall pouring from the silver tube. Both the ants had powerful thirst and longed to dip their feverish heads into the refreshing water. They quickly climbed along the tube. As they got closer to the rushing water, the ants felt the cool spray. They tightly gripped the shining surface of the fountain and slowly leaned their heads into the falling stream. But the force of the water was too much. Anybody know what that might be, Leandra? Yeah, it's a waterfall. Aubrey? Yeah, the thing in your sink in the kitchen, the spigot. And the tiny insects were pulled off the fountain and plunged into the deep, wet, dark chamber. They landed on half-eaten fruit and other soggy things. And suddenly, the air was filled with loud, frightening sounds. The chamber began to spin. The ants were caught in a whirling storm of shredded food and stinging rain. And then quickly, as it started, the noise and spinning stopped. Bruised and dizzy, the ants climbed out of the chamber. Now, this is something I don't know if you guys have ever seen before. But they have one in the kitchen at the school where they put the old food and it grinds it up. And it's in the bottom of the sink, and it grinds the food up. It's called a garbage disposal. And then when it gets ground up really much, it goes down the sink. I don't think you can handle it. Nope. This is crazy stuff. Nope, crazy. Deandra, don't be afraid. Sandra, can you handle it? Okay, thumbs up. See if we can handle it. In the daylight once again, they raced through the puddles at the smooth metal wall. In the distance, they saw something comforting, 2 long, narrow holes that reminded them of a warm safety of their underground home. They climbed onto and into the dark openings. But there was no safety inside the hole. A strange, dark force passed through the wet ants. They were stunned senseless, and they blew out the hole like bullets from a gun. When they landed, the tiny insects were too exhausted to go on, and they fell asleep in a corner. Anybody know what that is? John Wesley? Ooh. How many people agree with John Wesley? Think that's, see this right here, the plug? And what happened to the ants? Got shot out of here with electricity. I don't think you guys want that to happen to you. We're almost at the end. Let's take a quick break for our commercial, and we'll be right back.
Well, welcome, my friends. It's time for you to get off that horse and take a little break and let's wash your hands. Yeah, boy. It's time to wash your hands. Take about 20 seconds to do that, and you'll be clean and good for a while. Thank you. Now, let's take a little mosey on back to where our story left off. Yahoo, boys.
Night had returned when the battered ants woke to a familiar sound of footsteps of their fellow insects, returning for more crystals. The 2 ants slipped quietly at the end of the line. They climbed the glassy wall once again and stood amidst the treasures, but this time they each chose a single crystal and followed their friends home. Standing at the edge of their ant hole, the 2 ants listened to the joyful sounds that came from below. They knew how grateful their mother queen would be when they gave her the crystals. At that moment, the 2 ants felt happier than they'd ever felt before. This was their home. This was their family. This was where they meant to be. How about that? John Wesley, Leandra, how'd you guys like it? Oh, somebody being silly. I give this one 2 thumbs up because it's one of my best ones. I like this guy. So anyhow, till next week, we got a book already. I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see you again.